NBC has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits, which will be set in Los Angeles. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed
immigrant. Balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant. He's called Meghan Markle and says he feels sorry for Prince Harry because his wife is a lot to deal with. Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not one. The moment Colin Jost looked straight into that Saturday Night Live camera and casually dropped his bombshell about a UK-US trade deal, Meghan Markle's carefully orchestrated world shattered in real time. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two. He smirked as Harry and Meghan's photo flashed behind him. The studio audience didn't just laugh. They erupted in the kind of cathartic release that comes from finally hearing someone say what everyone's been thinking. But that SNL joke wasn't just the match that lit the fuse. Within hours, the internet detectives were out in full force. And suddenly, those mysterious yacht photos from Meghan's pre-royal days started surfacing everywhere. The same images her PR team had spent years scrubbing from every platform. And this time, there was no stopping the digital avalanche. Fans saw this coming from day one, and now we're watching the most satisfying meltdown in Hollywood history unfold exactly as predicted. Fans have been waiting for this moment for years. And Colin Jost just handed everyone the validation that was inevitable when he delivered that perfect one-liner about the UK demanding America keep Harry and Meghan as part of their trade deal. It wasn't just comedy. It was a public execution disguised as Weekend Update. And every single person in that studio knew exactly what he was really saying. Let's break down exactly why this moment was so devastating. Joe didn't just make a throwaway joke about two irrelevant celebrities. He gave mainstream America official permission to stop pretending on the Harry and Meghan matter. The setup was brilliant, discussing a so-called actual trade deal with the UK, then delivering the punchline that positioned the Sussexes as unwanted baggage that nobody wanted to claim. The audience reaction tells everyone everything they need to know about where public sentiment really stands. This wasn't polite comedy club chuckling. That was years of frustration finally finding an outlet. We could hear the collective. Finally, someone said it, rippling through the studio as people realized they weren't alone in their Sussex fatigue. She was a what I could see from the beginning who was just using opportunities to advance herself. This week may be the 7 days where Meghan Markle and Prince Harry officially become connected to one word. But here's what makes this absolutely perfect. Joe positioned the audience as intelligent insiders who already understood the subtext. He didn't explain why the trade deal joke was funny. He assumed everyone watching already knew that Harry and Meghan had become global embarrassments. That's the ultimate validation of fan intelligence. While mainstream media was still treating them like victims. Remember when fans predicted that Hollywood eventually turn on Meghan once they realized she was using them as props in her publicity campaigns? Saturday Night Live just proved that prediction was absolutely right, and the timing couldn't be more telling. This joke came just weeks after Meghan's latest desperate attempts to stay relevant, and SNL's writers clearly recognize the same patterns fans have been documenting for years. The beauty of comedy is in its ability to crystallize public sentiment in ways that traditional journalism can't. When SNL decides someone is fair game for mockery, it signals to the entire entertainment industry that the protection they once enjoyed has officially expired. Colin's joke wasn't just entertainment. It was Hollywood's official declaration that the Sussex brand is now considered toxic waste. You got to love it when an American broadcast television network and a comedy institution like Saturday Night Live takes a swipe showing how much of a b Meghan Markle is. Fans understood before anyone else that Meghan's victim narrative would eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Her demands for privacy while living the most public existence imaginable. Her claims of racism while abandoning every person of color who helped her climb the social ladder. Her positioning as a feminist icon while treating female staff like disposable servants. All of it was unsustainable. And SNL just confirmed that fan analysis was spot on. What happened immediately after Collins's joke proves exactly why fan media forecasting skills are so superior to mainstream journalism. While entertainment reporters were still trying to figure out whether the SNL segment was mean-spirited, fans and thousands of other intelligent observers were already connecting the dots and asking the real questions. The yacht photo resurgence wasn't random. It was the internet's collective response to finally having permission to investigate the inconsistencies his fans had been pointing out for years. Those grainy images that Meghan's team had spent millions scrubbing from search results suddenly became impossible to suppress because comedy had opened the floodgates of curiosity. Fans recognized immediately that this wasn't about judging Meghan's past behavior. It was about exposing the calculated deception behind her constructed image. The same woman who positioned herself as an authentic voice for the marginalized had apparently spent years erasing evidence of a lifestyle that contradicted every value she claimed to represent. A new trade deal with the UK that I got to start and stop because they get litigious. Here it comes. Reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these too. No. No. I refuse. I'm sick of it. The most satisfying aspect of Colin's joke is just how it exposes the economic calculations that drive every decision in the entertainment industry. When Saturday Night Live openly mocks someone's brand, it sends a clear message to streaming platforms, fashion houses, and commercial partners that association with them is no longer profitable. Netflix executives were reportedly watching that SNL segment very carefully because it represents the kind of cultural shift that directly impacts their investment decisions. The streaming giant had been counting on Harry and Meghan's brand maintaining some level of public sympathy to justify their massive content deals. But Colin's Joke proved that sympathy has completely evaporated. The luxury brands that once lined up to dress Meghan for events have been quietly separating themselves for months. And SNL just gave them the perfect cover to make those departures official. When the comedy establishment treats someone as a punchline rather than a personality, it signals to every other industry player that their influence has expired. Fan documentation of systematic celebrity departures from Meghan's circle has been vindicated in the most public way possible. The same pattern fans identified. Initial enthusiasm followed by gradual cooling, followed by complete abandonment has now been confirmed by mainstream entertainment's most influential platform. Ellen DeGeneres, who once defended Meghan publicly, hasn't mentioned her name in over a year. The Clooneys, who attended the royal wedding and were positioned as Meghan's Hollywood validators, have maintained complete radio silence about their former friends. Even Oprah, who built her entire relationship with Meghan on their shared interview, has been conspicuously absent from any recent Sussex celebrations. Fans understood that these departures weren't personal. They were strategic business decisions by people who recognized that Harry and Meghan's brand had become a liability. Saturday Night Live just confirmed that fan analysis of Hollywood risk calculation process was absolutely accurate. Is it a bad look for Maker to still refer to herself a royal? What makes this SNL moment so personally satisfying is how it validates every observation fans have made about the gap between Meghan's public image and private behavior. We saw through her victim narrative when entertainment journalists were still treating her PR statements as gospel truth. While we were watching Meghan's public humiliation unfold on Saturday Night Live, here's what was really happening behind Hollywood's closed doors. And it's even more devastating than anyone imagined. The yacht photo controversy that exploded after Colin's joke wasn't just internet curiosity. It was the entertainment industry's way of sending a clear message that Harry and Meghan's protection racket has officially ended. That she went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. So, she's complaining. I'm like, what? Is she talking about? No. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was going to be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's going to be. I'm like, that's not racist. 'Cause even black people want to know. You want to understand how Hollywood's rumor mill really operates? The yacht photo resurgence that followed SNL's joke represents a masterclass in strategic information warfare that most people completely missed. These weren't random images that accidentally surface. They were carefully preserved evidence that industry insiders had been sitting on for years, waiting for the right moment to deploy. The photos that went viral after Colin's joke tell a story that Meghan's PR team had spent millions trying to erase. Images allegedly showing her at Mediterranean yacht parties with wealthy men, champagne in hand, designer swimwear, strategically positioned, all contradicting the struggling actress narrative that she's used to justify her royal marriage as a fairy tale romance rather than calculated social climbing. What's Really damaging is how these images connect to a broader pattern of strategic omissions from Meghan's official biography. The same woman who positioned herself as an authentic voice for the marginalized had apparently spent years cultivating relationships with exactly the kind of powerful men she later claimed to be fighting against. Industry sources reveal that these photos weren't discovered by internet detectives. They were leaked by people within the entertainment industry who had grown tired of protecting someone who had betrayed everyone who helped her climb the social ladder. The timing wasn't coincidental. It was coordinated. Here's the insider knowledge that explains why Meghan's usual defenders went completely silent after the yacht photo surfaced. Major talent agencies have internal protocols for managing celebrities who become association risks, and the Sussex brand has been quietly placed on what's internally called the toxic client list. This isn't official policy because that would create legal liability. Instead, it operates through understood industry practices that work through whispered conversations and strategic scheduling. Publicists actively advise their high-profile clients to avoid professional collaborations, social media interactions, or even friendly public exchanges with anyone whose brand could contaminate their own reputation. The yacht photos gave these agencies perfect justification for their existing reluctance to associate their clients with the Sussex brand. They can now point to concrete evidence that Meghan selective authenticity claims and frame avoidance as protecting their clients from association with someone whose public statements don't match their private behavior. What makes this particularly brutal is how the silence spreads throughout the industry ecosystem. When major agencies start steering their talent away from someone, it creates a cascading effect that impacts everything from event invitations to casual social interaction. Party planners develop mysterious scheduling conflicts. Charity organizers become reluctant to extend speaking invitations. And collaboration opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly encounter unexpected complications. And it's not looking good for these two little heroes over in Montecito. Okay, the Duke and Duchess of Scam-a-Lot, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, there has run dry. Behind closed doors at Netflix's headquarters, executives are engaged in what sources describe as full-scale damage assessment regarding their partnership with Harry and Meghan. The streaming giant had invested heavily in the royal connection, but the yacht photo controversy represents exactly the kind of authenticity crisis that makes their content strategy impossible to defend. Internal viewership data reveals that Meghan's solo projects consistently underperform compared to content featuring other personalities. And the yacht photos provide perfect context for understanding why audiences have been rejecting her brand. Her cooking show generated significantly less engagement than similar lifestyle programming, while her podcast efforts were quietly shelved after failing to meet basic performance benchmarks. What's really damaging is how the yacht photo scandal affects Netflix's broader content strategy with other celebrities. High-profile guests who might have appeared on Meghan's shows are now actively avoiding association that could damage their own brands by connecting them to someone whose authenticity is under question. Netflix executives are reportedly discussing whether to quietly let the Sussex deal expire rather than risk renewal negotiations that could become public relations disasters. The yacht photos provide perfect cover for this decision because they can frame it as a response to Meghan's inconsistent public image rather than acknowledgement that her content simply doesn't perform well enough to justify continued investment. The Bench was a flop. The Netflix documentary was a flop. The Disney narration was a flop. The podcast was a flop. The Netflix series was a flop. Let's go back to 2018 when most of the media was still enchanted by the royal wedding spectacle and the narrative of a biracial American actress revolutionizing the monarchy. Fans saw something completely different. They noticed how Meghan's own family was being excluded from her big day, how her father was treated with calculated cruelty, and how she seemed to be more interested in the global platform than the actual responsibilities of royal life. While mainstream outlets were praising her modern approach to royal duties, fans observed the staff turnover, the demands for special treatment, and the way she positioned herself as the victim in every conflict.